your circadian rhythm is happy on day shift. You guys, some of the pros and cons of working day shift versus working night shift. I'm also gonna try to be as unbiased as I can in this video just because I like day shift a lot better. The first con of working day shift is it is harder to wake up. You know, you kind of have to drag yourself out of bed. Another con with day shift is there's a lot more management. There's a lot more of hospital. The higher ups in the hospital are there during day shift because that's their hours. They work like 9 to 5, so they're around. I think it's just a more strict environment because of the higher ups and management kind of hovering over you, making sure you're doing things right. Or if JCO comes, they're gonna come on day shifts.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
So it's just a little bit more of a strict environment. MedPass is a lot heavier. There's a lot more things going on. It's a lot more fast paced. The patients are moving from floor to floor, getting x-rays, meeting with specific doctors, possibly getting dialysis. There's just a lot more things moving during day shift. So it's a lot more fast paced. You gotta be a lot more alert and there's a lot more to do. Because it's during the day, there are a lot more visitors for your families. And I like families, but the con is that if you have multiple different patients, you're also dealing with multiple different families. So you're answering questions for this family, then another family asks you for something else. Someone else asks you for help. So you're kind of hopping around and juggling the families while you're also juggling your patient care and medications and apple juice and making sure people get crackers. And like, it's a lot more, you know, people that you're speaking to and a lot more people that you want to make sure are like, you know, being helped. It's just a lot more to be cognizant of when you're on day shift. Another con to day shift is that especially if you're a new nurse, you will not be able to schedule yourself the way that you want, because in most hospitals, scheduling, it goes first to senior nurses and it's based off of seniority, scheduling, and holidays. And after it goes from the senior nurses, it goes by first come, first serve. So you may not get the holiday you want off. Those are the cons of day shift, but there are still a lot of pros to working day shift, because if you're on orientation, most likely you're gonna orientate on day shift, so you're gonna see what I'm talking about. The biggest pro that a lot of people like day shift for is that you have a better work-life balance. This is to each his own, because some people have kids and they like working night shift, but from what I hear and what I know is that you kind of get a better work-life balance, because if you're working day shift, you can go home at 7, go do something else, hang out, spend time with your family or friends, especially if you have kids that get back from school, and you can spend time with them and then go to work the next day like normal. It's kind of just a more regular lifestyle than working night shift. But you know, that depends on you and your lifestyle, because everybody's kind of different. I know people who work in the hospital that have kids and they just like night shift a lot better and they would never switch. I personally feel like, for me, my social life I thought was like better with day shift, because it's easier to plan things, because you're on the same sleep schedule as everybody else in the world, so it's or in your vicinity, so it's not hard to like see family or go to events. You don't miss out on a lot. You have a lot more resources on day shift. I know I said like management is kind of hovering over you and watching you, but you have more senior nurses that you could refer to if you have questions or you need help, especially in the case of an emergency. Another pro I think about day shift is like, maybe it's a little weird, but for me, I thought it was a pro. I think you get more sunlight. I love sunlight and sunshine. I don't know, I think it just helps the day. It's a little bit brighter on the floor. It makes you feel more awake. And even when you're off, you get to sleep when the sun is down, and you wake up when the sun is up on your off days too, so you feel like a regular person. You don't feel like fatigued and like a zombie. And your circadian rhythm is happy on day shift. For me, you know, at least. Depends on you and your what you like. Some people are night owls and they prefer night shift. Another thing about day shift, I like that it is so fast paced, time just flies. You'll stare at the clock. You know how people say staring at the clock makes time go slower? You'll look at the clock and it'll be 3 p.m. and you'll wish you actually had more time. I'll be like, it's 3 p.m.? I thought I had more time. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do that. Like, it's like time goes by so quick. So that's a pro. And it's like your day's over like this and you go home and it's just it's a lot faster. That's it for day shift. I'm gonna switch over to night shift. I think that the pros of night shift is it's a way lighter med pass. You don't have as many medications to give overnight. Sometimes you might, but most of the time you don't have that many medications to give overnight because most of those medications are due during the daytime. So it's a lighter med pass. You don't have as much management hovering over you and watching what you do and nitpicking at you. It's a lot more, I think it's a lot more lenient of an environment. It's not as like, you could literally eat while charting. I don't recommend it. The keyboards are kind of dirty, but you could walk around the floor with food. Like, it's just a lot less because no one really sees you, so it's a lot more lenient. You get the shift differential. Some people say that it's not worth it, and it also depends on your hospital how much they'll give you for working overnights. My old hospital, I know it was, I think, an additional $100 every paycheck if you were working overnight. So there's that. You get a little bit, you get paid more if you work night shift. Another pro that some people say is good for night shift is that you don't really have the patient's families visiting. You don't have a lot of visitors because it's night shift, and I guess it's easier to focus solely on patient care because you don't have this patient's family, that patient's family, this patient's family, that patient's family asking you questions, and you don't have to juggle all of that. It's mostly just the patient and you, especially if you're more of a quiet, introverted person, even though you like nursing, but you're good with your patients, but you're not as talkative with other people. Because a lot of the nurses working on night shift are new grad nurses, you guys kind of understand each other better. You struggle together and learn together, so it creates a closer knit group of coworkers, I guess, and then you kind of make friends on night shift a lot more. It's like, I think it's a lot more laid back, it's a lot funnier. There are senior nurses on night shift just because they like it better, it works better with their life, but it works better with their schedule. That's why I said before, it really depends on you and what you like, because I know senior nurses who have been working in the field 20 years and they love night shift. They would never switch to day shift, and they're just a lot happier on nights. So I'm gonna switch over to what I think the cons of night shift are. I'm gonna try not to be biased, because when I tell you guys, I really did not like night shift when I was a new grad nurse. I liked it as a CNA, but it is so different as a nurse working on night shift. My cons for working on night shift is that there's a lot less staff on nights, so there's a lot less resources to go to if you need help with something. You don't have as many senior nurses or people walking around or management walking around to help you in case of an emergency, or in case of something going wrong or if something hits the fan. It's just a little different. I also think a con to working night shift is you may not get that same work-life balance that you got working on day shift. When I was working on nights, it was hard for me to get sleep. That was one thing. And I would miss out on some events. I'd miss out on time with friends and family because the times that I was awake, they were asleep. And when I was asleep, they were awake. And it was hard for me to get into a regular sleep schedule. And I didn't like that at all. And I was always tired. I was always fatigued. You'll realize it when you're working night shift, it's almost like even your days off aren't really days off. I felt like those were my days to catch up on sleep. And I would just sleep, and I'd be tired and kind of groggy. I also realized a con to night shift is that, I know it's night, so it's dark, but in the hospital, it's dark too. The hospital is darker, it's quieter, because there's not a lot of nurses, there's not a lot of visitors around. You don't get as much patient interaction because the patients are sleeping. I like patient interaction. Like, it makes my shift fun, talking and joking around with my patients. So you don't really get that because they're sleeping. But yeah, it's darker, it's quieter, it's slower. Time goes by slower because there's not a lot of medications that you have to give out during the night. So it's like, I would look at the clock, it'd be 12:30 a.m. I think I would look back at the clock hours later, it'd be 12:33. And I'm like, come on. I'd be like, come on, I want to go home. And time just goes by so much. Am I going the right way? So much slower. And I didn't like that part of it either. Another thing I noticed, I think I was eating a lot more junk food and a lot more sugary snacks.
I don't need it. I definitely don't need it.
I don't really drink coffee at all. But on night shift, I was drinking coffee, and I keep looking away from the camera. Let me focus on you. But on night shift, I was drinking a lot more coffee. I was drinking energy drinks, a whole lot of Celsius. Celsius should have sponsored me the way I was drinking Celsius on night shift to stay awake. Around 4 a.m., you start to get to that that nodding off point, then you gotta get yourself up. I was falling asleep on the drive home from work. It was a time I was asleep at the red light, when I was on my way home, which is really, really bad. But I'm being honest with you guys. I was asleep at the red light and a car drove up to me on like the left side. And he was like, like, move, bro. Like, what are you doing? And I got up and I was like, I'm sorry. And I showed him a badge and he was like, what's wrong with you? And I felt so bad. And I had to like stop on the side of the road and I was like, this is crazy. So I just never really got accustomed to night shift as a nurse. As a CNA, it was just so much more because, you know, you're not juggling like critical medications or blood transfusion. It was just a lot more, it was a lot different as a CNA than as a nurse. And I never really got the hang of it. I think over time I would have, but it was hard. Like I was just not doing it right. I think that was kind of it for what I want to tell you guys about day shift versus night shift. That's just my experience. Also, everybody is so different. Like I'm telling you, I have friends that love night shift and would never ever switch. They're night owls. They like work better at night. And I know people who like day shift a lot better. Everybody is so like different. Hope this video helped you guys. Hope you liked it. I hope it was informative and thank you for watching.